As you probably know, Asheville and western North Carolina were nearly destroyed by Hurricane Helene in late September. The Red Cross has deemed this a Category 7 disaster, which is the highest category they give. One of our fellow Marketing Podcast Network podcasters, Patrick Casale, is on the front lines there. He's an Asheville native who is living through and witnessing the trauma, destruction, and recovery his family, friends, and fellow community members are going through. Patrick started a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for relief efforts. All donations through Patrick's fundraiser go to local nonprofits who are helping with supply runs. Donations there directly impact people in need. The Marketing Podcast Network wants to help, and we know you do too. Visit Patrick's campaign page at bit.ly/WNCHELP. The abbreviation is for Western North Carolina. WNC, bit.ly WNCHELP. Any amount goes a long way. Even just $5 can provide a few gallons of clean drinking water to a family in need. Please join us in helping the relief and recovery efforts in Asheville and Western North Carolina. The web address again is bit.ly/WNCHELP, bit.ly/WNCHelp. Donate what you can. Every dollar helps.
You're listening to Entrepreneur's Enigma, a podcast about the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. Every week, your host Seth Goldstein interviews entrepreneurs from all walks of life about their entrepreneurial journeys. From store owners to Fortune 500 CEOs, we all have stories to tell. So sit back and join us for the next 20 or so minutes while we explore the entrepreneurial world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur's Enigma podcast. You know who I am by now, but I'm Seth, your host with the most. I'm here with a great Southern gentleman, a PhD in biblical and archaeology stuff. I messed that one up. We'll go with it. But, archaeology and biblical stuff that goes with archaeology, which kind of goes hand in hand. He went and got a PhD in this stuff. He's a pastor. He is William Attaway. He resides just due west of DC.
Yep.
About give or take. He is an executive coach specializing in leadership, mindset, and productivity. He is also a pastor, an all-around great guy. You'll hear that he does not sound like he's from Virginia per se. It sounds like he's a little more southern than that. He's got a touch of Alabama in there with a touch of Texas mixed with some Virginia for good measure. So he's got a good twang to him. So I like it. I like it a lot. So everyone needs that. So he's coached hundreds of agency owners and their teams on 6 continents. Did you travel to all 6 continents or no?
I've only been to 4.
That's pretty good.
To 4. Yeah.
So obviously North America. You live
Yep.
in North America. That's kind of
Yep.
given. Europe,
North America,
South America,
Europe, Africa,
Asia, Africa, not Asia.
the Near East. So yeah, if you went,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I said
we can count that.
five
Yeah,
out of
there you
six.
go.
Ain't
There you
bad.
go.
Ain't bad, buddy.
There you go.
I mean, if you're going to do biblical and archaeology, and
You got to
you're
go to the Near East.
you kind of go to the
Yeah.
Middle East a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. If you didn't do that, I'd have to question your PhD credentials, buddy.
It's probably true. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
The digs in Jordan, I'll qualify. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it's the Middle East. I don't know. I don't think anyone wants to claim the Middle East as their own part of their continent. It's kind of its own little microcosm of chaos. And we'll leave it at that. So anyhow, William is a podcaster as well. So I was on his podcast, which is it's Catalytic Leadership,
That's it.
and his business is called Catalytic Leadership. Very, like he said, he's a simple man, but it's a good name. Let's go with it. So William, welcome to the show. How you doing, buddy?
I am good, Seth. Thanks for having me.
This is so much fun. I was on your show. I'm like, we gotta get you on my show. So you did a PhD. I did archaeology and biological anthropology in college because I was an anthropology minor.
Okay.
And oh my God, I enjoy learning about it. Punnett squares weren't that bad. Hardy-Weinberg equilibriums were horrendous. Horrendous. And no one knows what these are, but clearly a Jewish guy came up with it because Hardy-Weinberg, I mean, come on now.
That's right.
And he clearly had something evil up his sleeve when he came up with that equilibrium. Holy cow. So how did you fall into that? Like, why did you do a PhD in that? Wow. I mean, you're a pastor, so it kind of makes sense, but
It's something that I really got fascinated with in college. The whole idea of archaeology, but particularly the backgrounds of what we read about in scripture. So by backgrounds, I mean the geography, the language, the history, customs and all the things
those are fascinating.
all the background, because that's how you really make sense and understand what it meant then. I believe you have to understand what it meant then to understand what it means now. Otherwise, you're liable to misinterpret.
Or hope to understand what it means now. Hope to.
That's what I do. That's
you try and do it as a pastor. You're trying to figure out, how am I going to do a sermon today on this?
Yeah.
Let me go back to my textbooks.
Well, and the archaeology just plays right into that because you understand in a very tangible way as you're digging that these were real people who lived just like us.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah, right. I mean,
that Jesus' name is actually probably his name was Josh. I think his name was
Yeshua,
which is nowadays Josh,
right?
Which I think makes him even cooler because his name is Josh. And that's pretty cool, Joshua. Like that's kind of cool.
It is.
But he was a real dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Walking around just like we do, and
on water, if you believe so. He walked on water.
There you go.
Michael Jackson would have loved to walk on water too.
The key, I think, is understanding that this is not just a made up story. Yeah. That this is.
We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
These are real people who lived in real times and real places, and what archaeology does is it begins to help us to construct that world and to make it tangible and to say, okay, this is what it looked like. This is what it felt like. I know, right?
When you dig up a building, you're digging the ground house and you find this wall.
Yes.
And you keep digging, you find, and I visited Pompeii when I was in college, and I'm like, I mean, granted, these are not the actual bodies anymore. They're castings of the holes that they left behind and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But still, like, those were real people hugging when the Vesuvius blew up.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's wild. It's kind of creepy and a little morbid, a little maudlin, but it's still kind of neat. Like they're still and the whole idea of like if you die once when you die and you die twice when people forget you, and they're never forgotten, so they're still living in a way.
Yeah, you dig up a wall and you're the first person that's touched that wall in something like 5,000 or 6,000 years. Like that's just crazy, man. That's just
you touch it in there. Yeah, I was in Mount Edna well before it blew up recently. And they encourage you. They're like, "There's so much rock here. Take a rock with you. I have a rock here."
Nice.
So like when at Pompeii, they say, "Leave this stuff alone." Yeah. Etna, they're like, "It's going to explode at some point. We're getting more. Don't worry about it." Like, I mean, literally, it reproduces its own rocks, kind of thing.
Right.
But it was kind of cool. I picked this up. I'm like, this rock at some point might have blown up, like came up, years millennia ago.
Yeah,
It's just neat.
totally.
So
So yeah.
how did you find your way into, so went to college, and I remember we talked before, you took a break, had
Mhm.
kids, had family, then you're like, I want to torture myself some more and go back to college and get a PhD. Like, you have to be somewhat crazy to do that. But all the more power to you. You did it.
That's funny.
But like, how did you find your way into leadership, coaching, pastoral work, entrepreneurship, all that good stuff?
Well, long before I knew anything about archaeology and long before I started working in a church setting, I was working in the business world. And I started leading teams now about 30 years ago, leading my first team.
So when you were
And
10,
you're so kind. That's so
I'll be kind. I'll
kind.
be kind. I'll be
Oh, so
kind. Yeah.
kind. Oh my. The back when I had hair is really the better way to say
Back
it.
when you
You
had
know,
hair, okay. I can sympathize. Yeah.
the uh, the thing about learning to lead is that it is a different skill, and you can be really good at providing a product or a service. But as you begin to
Leading is a
find
whole different thing.
success and you have to hire people to help you with fulfillment, you got to lead those people. And
Oh
leadership's a
God,
different
it's
skill.
hard.
And so leading teams myself was a big deal. I had been a student of leadership since I was
Mhm.
15. I had a high school
All right, so I
teacher
wasn't
who,
too off.
Hmm?
10, 15, wasn't too far
well,
off. Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't leading at that point. I was a student, but I had
Yeah.
a high school teacher who invited me to attend a leadership conference.
Oh
He saw
wow.
something in me I didn't see in myself. And
That happens
now,
a lot. Teachers see stuff like, well, that's my whole
right?
background. People thought I was gonna be a journalist, I became a journalist. If I was gonna be a marketer, I became a marketer. I'm like, how'd you guys see this? I didn't.
That's what he saw. And so that's
Yeah.
almost 4 decades ago. And so as I'm looking at this,
Again, when you were 10. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, that's right. I became a student of leadership and understanding the power of a leader, and then I
Mhm.
began leading teams myself, and then I began working with other people to help them lead better.
Mhm.
And really, for almost 30 years now, working with leaders to help them grow and thrive, to help them understand that they can do this.
Yeah.
That is one of the great joys of my life, to help a leader get better. Because when you help a leader to grow,
Yeah.
you're not just helping one person. You're helping every person on their team. You're helping every
Mhm.
client they will ever serve. You're
Nothing's
helping their
worse than a bad
spouse,
leader. Jeez,
right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're helping
Mhm.
their spouse, you're helping their kids, all by
Yeah.
helping one leader. And so
It's
that's why I
amazing.
do what I do, because I get to help a leader, that and the ripples from that reach out and touch so many people
So the pastoral work kind of falls into that too, because you're leading
in a
a
different way.
flock in a
Absolutely.
different. Did I use that right? I'm Jewish. I don't know. Flock, right? You use
Yeah,
a flock.
sure.
I
Absolutely.
use that right? Right? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Church, congregation, flock.
Congregation, flock. And flock's a
Yeah.
little bit more demoralizing, but yeah, we'll go with
Yeah.
flock.
There you go. I mean, the idea of I think leadership in a nonprofit or a church setting.
Okay,
Uh,
that seems tougher because no budget.
well, right. You don't have the budget you do in the
The
business world,
budget.
but you also don't have the thing that most leaders use as leverage over the people they lead, which is a paycheck.
Yeah.
Now you're leading volunteers. Well, see, volunteers can leave anytime they want to.
I try to keep them interested and
You
engaged.
have to inspire. You have
Mhm.
to encourage. You
No
have to
pressure,
lead.
right?
You have
No
to lead
pressure
from
at
a
all.
purer, I think, in a purer way, because you don't
Yeah.
have the leverage of a paycheck to hold over.
Yeah, so it's kind of a new challenge. You did the whole leadership in the corporate sense for a while. You did it as a coach,
Mhm.
and then you're like, hold my beer, I guess, or wine or whatever. Hold my drink and let me see if I can do this in a church setting, which is a challenge. I mean, the synagogue I used to belong to,
Mhm.
it was impossible to keep a rabbi because
Mhm.
it was very hard to keep people coming back and find the right
Yeah.
personality and all that stuff. It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I've been at the church I lead today, it'll be 20 years in a few weeks, right?
Wow.
And I'll tell
That's
you,
some dedication to keep the pastor there. Jeez.
yeah, well, it's not been the easiest road, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But it is a testament to the people who have been patient
Be
and
patient with you, saying, all right,
haven't been
Dr. Williams a little off today. Yeah,
or,
we'll give him the day. Yeah.
or, oh, people left, people transitioned out of the area, people moved. We live in a very
It's sad. Yeah.
transitional place.
It's tough.
People in the DC area come here, they're here for 3, 4, 5 years, and then they are
Mhm.
transferred or deployed somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
It's tough.
you don't get
Yeah.
people who are here for generations typically.
It's tough. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you're around right near the resting area, right?
Yeah, the church is in Reston, yeah, that's out by
Oh,
Dallas Airport.
really? I have good memory.
That's
Wow.
great memory. Yeah, well done.
Woo! No, I was a guess. I mean, DC wrestling is it kind of goes hand in hand. So you've been doing this for a while. You've been doing the church thing for 20 years, doing the leadership thing for 30 years, like I said, since you were 10, and I mean, seriously, you can't say more about an entrepreneur than someone who does it almost for free, pretty much, or for like a stipend in the church, and then also as a business. So you've seen both sides of entrepreneurship and of leadership and of guiding people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and throw into the soup there that my father and my grandfather were entrepreneurs,
Oh,
and
geez.
so
Oh, so it's in the blood.
yeah,
So your wife married you and was like, oh, this is not good.
my grandfather started a kids' clothing store back in the 50s.
Wow.
My dad started a traditional advertising agency back in the 70s.
Oh,
So
wow.
think
Back with the old
radio
people.
and
Yeah.
TV, newspaper, and
So
so
it's in your blood. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's something that I got to watch up close and personal growing up
Yeah.
and see the good, the bad, the ugly, and
The
learn.
upside down, the left and right. Exactly. All the
Exactly.
crazy stuff. Yeah.
And so now the knowledge base that I pull from when I work with clients is not just my own journey as an entrepreneur, starting my own business, my own
It's
coaching.
what dad went through, or grandpa
It's
went through.
watching what they went through. And it's, now almost 30 years of leaders that I have been working with and coaching, from
And their experiences
solopreneurs.
too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's from solopreneurs up to, billion-dollar corporation executives,
That's
and
wild.
helping them to navigate the waters that they're in. That's a knowledge base that I bring to bear for my clients now to help
That's
them
wild.
navigate what they're doing.
That's amazing.
The thing is, you can't see the whole picture when you're in the frame. You just
Oh,
can't. I
absolutely
can't
not.
either.
You almost always need a coach or an
Well,
advisor or a friend or a mentor.
this is why I've had coaches for decades, Seth, because
You need
I
them.
need somebody to see what I can't see, to
They
look
can
from
see
the
you
outside
out of
with
the
a different
weeds. Exactly.
perspective. Yes.
And say, hey, William, try this out.
Right.
Oh my God. I did not think of doing that.
Right. Have you thought about?
Yeah, exactly. Or, hey, pastor, what about this? And you're like, oh,
Right. None of us know it
next
all.
week.
None of us know
Next
it
week.
all. And if I can learn from the experiences of other people through a
That's the
coach,
best.
then I might can avoid some of the ditches they drove into.
Some. Keep that in
Some,
mind. You also
100%.
hit your own ditches.
Of course you will.
Sometimes with the same ditches, slightly differently.
But if I hit fewer, then
That's the
I can
best.
go faster and
Yes.
I can go
Oh, I like that.
farther.
Oh, I love that. If I
Yeah.
hit fewer, I can go faster. I love that.
Yeah.
You can teach people how to go faster because they can avoid your ditches.
That's exactly it. If I can
Oh, that's
help you
brilliant.
go faster than you would have gone on your own, and I can help you go farther than you would have gone on your own,
I love it.
would that be worth it for your
Oh,
business?
absolutely.
Mine too.
It makes sense. And and I feel like you're in an industry, like I'm in an industry that is saturated.
Yes.
Actually both. There's a lot of pastors too, but we're not
Yeah.
talking about that
Sure.
one. But there's a lot of business coaches and there's a lot of web
100%.
designers, digital marketers out there. How do you set yourself apart? And I think what you bring to the table is that you come from a legacy of entrepreneurs. You come from a legacy of helping a lot of entrepreneurs over 30 years. You're not just this guy who hangs up a shingle saying, I'm a coach. You're
Right.
like, I'm a coach because I fell into being a coach because I realized that this is needed. I
Yeah.
think it's really neat. It's
Yes.
not like it's less of an industry, more of a call to serve kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And a paycheck, which is nice to have.
Well, I just like everybody else, I like to eat and live indoors, So, I
Yeah.
mean, you gotta have a way to
Occasional
do
camping
that.
trip, I'm sure, but
There you go. I mean, the goal is to really, if I can help people to win,
yeah,
that is my win. I
that's the
celebrate
key.
with them.
Yeah.
I was on a session this morning with a client, and he was sharing, he spent the first 20 minutes of our session sharing all the wins since his last call,
Oh my God.
right?
So multiple.
And I was, oh yeah. He was just duh, duh, duh,
Boom, boom, boom,
duh.
boom. And you're like,
Hey, we talked
yes.
about this and I executed this, and oh, look at this, look what happened. And I hear
And he's
this.
all excited, and you're like, you feel good about yourself because he's feeling so good about himself.
Well, that's it. My biggest
Mhm.
win is when my clients win.
I love it. And you get paid too. That always helps.
Of course. Well,
It's never a bad thing. No.
I think it's a good thing for people to make investments in themselves and in their growth.
Mhm. I think people take it more seriously when they put some skin in the game.
Well, if you don't, you won't.
Oh no, you're full of these good sayings. Might be the Alabamian in you.
There you go.
Might be. So, William, what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Because I mean, you've been corporate, you've been out of corporate for a while now, but what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur and doing it non-profitly and for profit?
I think the best thing for me is that I never get bored.
Yeah.
You know, this was a challenge for me early on because you're in a position, you know, whether it's I was in sales, I was in, you know, different positions, and it was like, okay, you do the same thing every day, same thing week after week after week. Go to this meeting again. It feels like a carbon copy of the last meeting.
Why are we having
And
this meeting? Yeah.
right, we did this already. We've done this 45 times. Like, why are we doing it again? And it tends to I get bored. And the beauty of entrepreneurship is there is not any
Oh, it's
day
never a dull
that is
day.
like any other day. And I never get bored.
That's awesome. So on the other side of things, what keeps you up at night besides trying to come up with a sermon every Sunday? I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how rabbis do it. I don't know how pastors do it, how priests do it. I mean, I guess I can because I do a newsletter every week. You know, I get it. Something hits you and you kind of go with it. But like, wow,
Well,
it's a lot of work.
you know, it's 10 to 12 hours for me to put together a talk. And that's whether
A
it's
week.
for, sure. And that's whether it's for the church or whether it's when I speak at a conference, you know, 10 to
Whew.
12 hours to put together a talk. But the ones for the church, you only use once. You know, a conference talk I can give multiple times and do.
Oh, you can't duplicate. I guess you can't I guess you can jive off of a sermon. Like last week, we talked about this.
I'll do a series. Sure.
Yes,
I'll
yeah.
do a series. Right.
Yeah.
Going through a book. I did, I walked through the book of Exodus year before
Oh,
last.
that's a fun one.
It is. I loved it. I had so much fun
Yeah,
with that.
Genesis is. I always say Genesis is a little bit like a porno, but Exodus is a fun one.
Exodus was
Begot,
so much fun.
begot.
Right.
You're like,
Right.
jeez.
Right.
You had to start somewhere. You literally, there's like, let's get this over with.
Hey,
Boom.
man.
Whole
That's
book, get done. Let's move on to Exodus. Let's get them out of Egypt.
I think Exodus is the cornerstone
It's this
of
cool
the
book.
Hebrew Bible. I mean, I think
It's incredible.
that is huge. So I spent
That's the most constipating one too, because you know, as Jews, we have to eat a lot of matzah.
absolutely. Well,
Oh
I mean,
God.
I kind of like matzah. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, because you're not Jewish. Have you tried gefilte fish?
I have.
Well,
I've
you're a
participated in many
You're in the
seders.
Baltimore, DC area. You kind of, I'm sure you've
Many
had.
seders. I have been. Yeah.
Oh, gefilte fish is an acquired taste. I don't mind it, but I
Oh, it's
mean,
an acquired. It's not. I have not acquired it, but it is. Yeah.
it's like scrapple up here. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, not acquired that one either. Yeah.
No, scrapple's a little bizarre too.
I
But anyhow,
that. Yeah.
what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
The most important thing that I carry with me all the time.
Yeah, other than a Bible and a notebook and all that stuff. None of that simple stuff. Let's go deep here.
Gosh, you mean a physical thing that I carry with me
No.
all the time?
It can be as metaphysical.
Oh, well, there you go.
You can go as deep as you want. Come on, you're a
Well,
pastor. No
yeah,
pressure.
I mean, the gimme answer is my faith, you know, because it's such a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And it is really what it's what powers me to do what I do the way I do it. You know, when
got you through your PhD program.
well,
I mean,
there's that. There's that. That's something, right? And it empowers me to help leaders to listen and to hear what they're saying and to hear what's under what they're saying. And to help them to see something in a mirror that they couldn't see before.
I love it.
It helps me to see people in a different way, see beyond their mistakes and their failures, see beyond their arrogance, see beyond. Yeah. I mean, that's what empowers all of that. So that's something that I would carry every day. Yeah,
there you go. See, you know, it kind of goes with your Bible and your notebook and your laptop and your phone and all that other stuff. But I hate when people they question like my phone. I'm like, really? Come on, you gotta give me something. I got some really deep ones, like my left pinky toe, and this is why. And I'm like, whoa, okay, we're going out.
You carry that with you everywhere you go. I mean,
you should.
It'd be kind of weird if you didn't, like, you know.
Yeah, well, there's a story there if there isn't.
right.
Absolutely. So,
William,
where can people find you? Where can people find you online? Where's your main hangout?
So you can go to catalyticleadership.net and you can find out more about all the things I do, including the podcast that you mentioned that I host.
Yeah. And there's a book.
Find out about the books that I've written. Absolutely. My last one was Catalytic Leadership, came out in 2022.
You like Catalytic?
I do. I do. It comes out of my
It's got a good
story.
name to it. It's got a good like
Yeah. Well, I went to
catalytic.
college originally as a pharmacy major.
Oh.
And so I was in pre-pharmacy for a year and a half till I got to organic chemistry.
And you're like,
And,
"No,
uh,
thank you." That's
and
like my biological anthropology class. Like, "No,
yeah,
thank you."
that's the point at which you decide, that's the washout point that they design into the program. And it worked. It washed me right out. But in
What'd
my
you leave
brief,
college with?
what I leave college with?
Yeah.
Well, I dropped out twice, before I finished,
What'd you
because
finish
I
with?
stopped wasting money, and I was like, "This is
Yeah.
dumb. I'm gonna stop doing this." I
Yeah.
finished with a bachelor's, in religion with a minor in history.
Oh, and that kind of moved into the
Mhm.
PhD. I mean,
Right.
that's nice. And
Well,
people always say, "Oh, history is." I mean, I was a history major with a minors in
mhm.
anthropology and political science and a concentration in journalism. Don't know
Mm,
how I got on 4 years. I
nice.
have no idea how I got on 4 years, but I did.
Well done.
Year-round schooling, that's what we do. Winter session, summer session, summer session, every year except for the last year.
There you go.
But I find that the history, my big thing was Civil War history. I mean, you live
Mm,
in like the hotbed of Civil War history right there. I
yeah,
mean,
that's true.
Virginia is like where it all happened, right there. We have one battlefield for good measure, Gettysburg.
Yeah,
North,
which
we
is
have to have
amazing,
one.
which is
Oh,
amazing.
Gettysburg, I think it's my favorite. Oh, favorite. It's kind of weird to say, but it's my favorite of all the battlefields. I lived
Oh,
out there for a year and a half.
really?
Got
We
sick of
visited
it.
that 2 years ago for the first time, and I was
Oh,
just
how long? How many
blown away.
days?
Hmm?
How many days did you do?
Oh, just one.
You did that in a day?
Well, see, that's the thing.
Woo!
It left so many things that we wanna go back and see, and go
Good,
back
yeah.
and go back.
I did about 5 months of on the weekends exploring that battlefield,
Wow.
and I still wanna go back. I mean, I got sick of
Oh,
it after
yeah.
5 months. I mean, I was a journalist on South Central Pennsylvania,
Mm.
so that was tough. But what do you do on the weekends? There's nothing to do besides
Right.
either cow tip or you go out to the battlefield and walk around. So, I mean, I found different nooks and crannies I never knew existed.
It's amazing, it really is.
It's a very well done battlefield thing, so
Yeah.
well, awesome. William, thank you so much for being on. This is so much fun.
Seth, I've so enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for
Isn't it
having me.
amazing? 23 minutes and it flew by.
I mean, right? It always does.
It always does, my friend. And on that note, we'll see everyone next time.
That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please consider giving us a review in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps us reach new listeners. If you like Entrepreneur's Enigma, consider the other shows on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net.
Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.